Hello, Bolt fam, and welcome to another episode of ChargersCast. I'm your host, Kirk Brewer. Been a Chargers fan for over 40 years now, and as you probably know, ChargersCast is a podcast about everything about our beloved Los Angeles, formerly San Diego Chargers. It is a podcast by fans, for fans. This episode is the first episode of the Los Angeles Chargers 2025 season. So let's get into it. And first order of business, which is a tradition here on ChargersCast, crack open a nice cold one. Cheers. Let's get into it. The last episode was done back in March of 2025, and it was a free agency / pre-draft episode. So you can go back on our YouTube channel and get caught up on that episode if you like. Otherwise, bear with us here. What we're going to be covering in this episode is essentially the roster as it's begun to take shape post-draft and continued free agency. The Chargers are now about a week and a half, 2 weeks into official training camp. And as we sit recording this episode right now, in 3 days, that is this Thursday, the Chargers will be playing in the Hall of Fame game as Antonio Gates, the tight end GOAT, gets inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So let's go ahead and dive into it. We've got a lot to cover. This episode's going to be, for the most part, it's going to be somewhat of a summary as we're heading into training camp and watching the roster evolve and watching position battles evolve. So first off, what I wanted to cover is the Chargers roster and last season's players, who we re-signed, who we let go, before we get into free agent additions and then the draft and talk a little bit about how things are shaping up in training camp. So real quick, big news this week. Finally, Rashawn Slater, Justin Herbert's blindside protection on the left side. Left tackle Rashawn Slater was just signed this week, yesterday. As a matter of fact, he was just signed to a 4-year extension worth $114 million. $92 million of that is guaranteed, making him the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. So he is now wrapped up through the 2029 season. And sophomore Joe Alt on the right side, he's locked up through the 2028 season. So Justin Herbert has his bookend stud tackles locked up for a minimum, both of them combined, for the next 4 seasons. So awesome news. Justin needs that protection if he's going to take us where we want him to take us. All right. I'm going to start running through this list. Then I may circle back with a few comments on a few folks. But Chargers that were re-signed. Rashawn Slater this week. The first guy who was re-signed early on in free agency, Elijah Molden. We signed him, extended him to 3 years, $19 million. Khalil Mack is back. We just got him back on a 1-year contract, and at his age, where he's at, I think at this point in his career, he's going to be year to year, and hopefully he's year to year with us, and he doesn't go anywhere else. Either he retires or he stays a Charger and retires a Charger, but we want to get that guy a Super Bowl ring with lightning bolts on it. Denzel Perryman re-signed to a 1-year deal. J.K. Scott, our stud punter, re-signed. Bradley Bozeman, our journeyman center, looks like he will either start at center again this season or he'll be starting at left guard, depending on how that battle plays out with him and Zion Johnson. Troy Dye, re-signed him. awesome backup linebacker, special teams player. Tier Tart, re-signed him. Excellent. Beef up the middle on the defensive line. Taylor Heineke, re-signed him as Justin's backup quarterback, QB2. Tony Jefferson, re-signed Tony Jefferson. Love this signing. While he may not get massive numbers of snaps and reps, he's one of those guys. He's a leader on the sideline. He's a leader on the field. He's seen so much football over his career, and he's played at such a high level over his career that he brings so much experience and wisdom and just veteran savvy to the defense. Jalen Reagor, wide receiver, re-signed him. He's a former first-round pick. So they're seeing something in him that hopefully he blossomed into. With Sanjay, the wide receiver coach, being as good as he is, maybe there's something there that they're able to get out of him. And then Tucker Fisk, our primarily blocking tight end, but I think he caught a couple balls last season. They re-signed Tucker Fisk. Charger players who were on the roster last season who are no longer on the 2025 roster. The big name on this list, Joey Bosa. We released Joey. Joey has signed with the Bills. Joey's already injured. Not major injury, but injured on the Bills, and he may not see much playing time or practice time in preseason. Easton Stick, addition by subtraction with him. He just proved last season. I like Easton. It's not intended to badmouth him at all. Seems like a really stand-up dude. Huge winner in college, but the reality is at the pro game, it just became obvious last season that last preseason and the games the previous season when Justin was hurt that he wasn't the guy to be the backup in those situations if we are so unfortunate to lose Justin and still hope to pull out a game or two. J.K. Dobbins, this one kind of hurt me a lot. I really like J.K. Thought there's a lot of promise there. I think he was a great fit both scheme-wise and just personality-wise with the team. Just a great, great dude. But they did not re-sign him, and he is now a donkey. So we're going to see him twice this year. And while I don't wish ill on him, I hope he's horrible when he plays us. All right. Gus Edwards, we know we didn't re-sign him as well. Asante Samuel Jr. This was just a strange one for me all last season because there was just no information being released on what the deal was with him, what the deal was with his injury. He's still unsigned, okay? Super, super talented, young cornerback, and we didn't re-sign him, one of our own, and he is a free agent, still unsigned. So that tells me something pretty significant had to do with that injury. I understand it was probably his neck, and so teams are being cautious with Asante, but he is no longer a Charger. And I don't think there's any more roster spots where if he all of a sudden got better, they would re-sign him. I think our cornerback room is full at this point. Morgan Fox, love Foxy. Wish we had retained Foxy. He's one of those journeyman guys that just brings his lunch pail and his hard hat and always contributed. Foxy's gone. He signed with the Falcons. Poona Ford, this was a big one. He only spent one season with us last season, but my goodness, did he have a great season and really contribute to making that defense as good as it was. We lost Poona in the middle, and he signed with the Rams. Christian Fulton, cornerback, he signed with the Chiefs. Another big hit, one of those middle-tier names, but big hit. Nick Neiman, linebacker, but quite frankly, really a special teams ace. He's gone. He was signed away, literally signed away by the Texans. That's how good he is as a special teams player. Josh Palmer, he was a free agent. We didn't re-sign him. The Bills signed him. and sounds like he's fitting in real good there. And he's got a great quarterback in Josh. And so wish Josh Palmer well and hope he flourishes, but not so much so that the Chargers don't beat out the Bills for next year's Super Bowl. All right. Simi Fajoko's gone. Another journeyman wide receiver, great team guy. Loved Simi. He was signed by the Cardinals, and looking forward to him having a great season with the Cardinals. Chris Rumpf, defensive end, edge guy, he's gone. Did not re-sign him. Stone Smart, tight end, kind of journeyman quarterback converted to tight end. Showed glimmers, but not enough for the new regime to keep him on board. He's gone. Hayden Hurst, was really optimistic that Hayden was going to come in and be a big contributor last season between some nagging injuries and such. Never manifest itself, and the Chargers didn't renew his contract. I think he was just on a one-year deal. Very similar with DJ Chark, but maybe even worse so. I think DJ only caught one pass last season in regulation, and so Chargers didn't re-sign him. Eli Apple signed middle of the season. Cornerback, he's gone. Marcus May's gone. Shaq Quarterman's gone. Brendan Hymus, offensive lineman, gone. Sam Mustipher, offensive lineman, gone. Foster Sorrell, offensive lineman, gone. Those are all journeyman guys, easily replaceable. And so those are roster positions, players that did not get re-signed. So as you can gather from that hefty list, the roster's been remade for 2025. Last year was the first year under Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz. They did a phenomenal job coming in year one and getting us to the playoffs, winning 11 games. But that's not where we want to go. Okay, we want to go to the promised land. And so we knew they were going to remake this roster again this year, now that they were out of cap hell from last year. So notable free agent signings. The big free agent signing. He had already been signed when we had done the last pod back in March. Is Mekhi Becton. He was originally a number one pick as a tackle for the New York Jets. Last year was signed by the Eagles as a free agent, played right guard, was dominant in that position, and as we all know, the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So Mekhi is now a Charger, and you are going to have this massive beef of 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", 300 plus on the right side of this line between Joe Alt and Mekhi Becton. Watch out, defenses and defensive ends, because those guys are going to road grade like a mofo. I am looking forward to watching this running game on the right side. It's going to be incredible. Tyler Conklin, tight end from the New York Jets. When we originally signed Tyler, I didn't know a whole lot about him. I knew he had great hands based on doing a little bit of research. The guy just does not drop passes, but he's never put up like these massive, spectacular numbers. You don't see him on Sports Center and a bunch of highlights, not very often. However, based on what we've seen through OTAs and what we're starting to see through training camp, I'm really optimistic that he's going to be a significant contributor. He can both block and catch, and he's a yak guy as well as a red zone threat. And like I said, he doesn't drop balls. He doesn't drop many balls at all. And so he should be a great addition for Justin. Najee Harris, big free agent signing, running back from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a former first-round pick, first 4 years in the league. It's only 4 years in the league. Each year in the league for the last 4 years, put up 1,000 yards. Never injured. He's always in the game. What do they say? Availability is one of the most important traits of a player, and Najee's that guy. He just pounds out the yards, gets his 1,000 yards each season, and between what Joe and Jim want to do as far as run first, pound the defense with this big offensive line, getting a big thumper back there is going to be awesome. We signed Dante Jackson, cornerback from Pittsburgh as well. I believe he was a former Panther. Last year, I think, was his only year in Pittsburgh. He's been in the league a few years now. I want to say about eight years in the league. Solid cornerback. So he'll probably start on the opposite side of Tarheeb, I suspect. And he'll be replacing Christian Fulton and Asante. We also signed cornerback Benjamin St-Juste from Washington. I suspect he'll be more of a rotational player, fill in the void, maybe nickel. And, that depends on Cam. Cam may be the nickel. And they'll have him on the roster more than likely, special teams, and should somebody go down. Andre James from the Las Vegas Raiders, center from the Raiders. He's got a lot of reps as center. He had an off season last season, but we're hearing good things about him out of camp. I suspect he'll probably make the roster and he'll be backup center. We signed Trey Lance, former first-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. He was a former first-rounder quarterback. He was with Dallas last season. So he comes in to compete with Taylor Heineke for that backup role. I suspect Taylor's going to hang on to it, having his second year in this offense, and hearing good things out of Coach Harbaugh about how Taylor's grasping the offense and giving them confidence that should Justin need to take a spell, gets injured, miss a game, that Taylor can come in. But that being said, I think they see something in Trey as well, and I'm not going to be shocked at all if we have all three quarterbacks on the roster this season. Couple of other free agent signings. Delshawn Phillips, linebacker special teams guy. Deshaun Hand, defensive tackle. Hearing some good things about him in the rotation, as well as another defensive tackle, Naquan Jones. I believe he came over, if I'm not mistaken, from the Cardinals, but also hearing some good stuff about them. So it sounded like with Thier and draft pick that we'll get into, and these guys, we're having a pretty solid rotation in the interior defensive line. One last notable free agent signing, one I was super stoked about, not as much anymore, was Mike Williams. We re-signed Mike as a free agent wide receiver. Was really looking to get him back in the fold, paired up with Justin, and watch him work his magic on the outside. He's a year removed from that knee injury that he suffered with us. Had a down year last year, bounced between the Jets and the Steelers, and just never really put anything together. But as training camp started, the Chargers put him on the PUP, the physically unable to perform list. And literally a day or two later, he announced that he was going to retire. He hasn't had a news conference, haven't heard anything specific what prompted him to retire. I suspect he's just not willing to go through the rehab, or doesn't feel like he's going to be able to get back to his old form. That's what I would suspect. And he hung him up, which is crazy disappointing. It is what it is, and we wish Mike well. Absolutely great dude, great teammate. As far as what everybody says, just an awesome dude, and going to miss not having him on the Bolts this season. All right. Other additions, 2025 draft class. Let's go over this. Joe Ortiz is working his magic, man. I think he's done a great job in free agency, going through especially some of those top names on the free agent signings list. Mekhi Becton, Tyler Conklin, Dante Jackson, Najee Harris in particular. That being said, this draft class, really impressed with how this shook out. In round one, which I wasn't necessarily expecting them, especially this day and age, you don't see it very often, to put first round draft capital into a running back. But is later round, later in the round, because we performed so well last season. So it was a late first round pick. And we drafted Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. This guy is incredibly interesting. Thumper, but can pull away from you, hits the hole hard, big, fast kid. And the thing that's really cool about his story is his running back coach in college was none other than Natron Means Business. And Natron had nothing but just glowing reviews of this kid as a person as well as a ball player. So looking forward to having him welcomed into the fold and seeing what he does in his rookie season. Initially, I was thinking, he's going to be splitting a lot of reps. He's going to be like RB2 behind Najee Harris. However, Najee Harris incurred an eye injury. They say it's superficial, but it's an eye injury nonetheless on the 4th of July, a fireworks accident. And nobody's seen that eye publicly. They're not showing me any pictures of it. Saw him in camp this past week, in a hoodie with some big Oakleys on, so you can't see anything. Is it at the ball or is it, around the eye? We don't know. Nobody's saying anything. But he's recovering and he is not participating. So all the other running backs, Omario in particular, are getting extra reps. So I suspect the roles are going to flip-flop and Omarion's going to be RB1 and Najee's going to be RB2. I don't see how it could play out any other way, despite Najee having the experience he has. He doesn't have the experience in this offensive scheme, and he's falling behind every single day. And by the way, I'm also really looking forward to Kamani Vidal this season, hearing some really good things about him out of camp as well. Round two, Trey Harris, wide receiver out of Mississippi, 6'2", 205 pounds. The guy was crazy productive in college. Great skill set between route running, hands, being X on the outside, can play inside. This guy is going to bring a lot to the offense and a lot to Justin. So really looking forward to getting this guy in the fold. He's a second-round pick that he was holding out with all the other second-rounders wanting some guaranteed money, but we ended up getting him in, I want to say probably the second day of camp. Got him signed, got him in. So he's in camp and he's getting his reps, which is great. For wide receiver in particular, you got to get those reps so the quarterback trusts you. Third-round pick, Jamari Caldwell, defensive end out of Oregon. This guy is a beast. 6'2", 332. He's an interior space eater. This guy is awesome. He can actually get a push up the middle, but he can hold down the fort and hold down the middle of the line against the run while also getting some push up the middle as well. So really excited to see what this guy is going to do in the interior defensive line rotation as a rookie. Again, hearing great things about this guy, and can't wait to see him play in preseason and really get some eyeballs on him and see what he's going to contribute there in that rotation. And then in round 4, we got Kyle Kennard, edge rusher out of South Carolina. He also spent, before he went to South Carolina, I want to say he spent 4 seasons at Georgia Tech. He's 6'4", 255, was crazy productive in college, had a great college career. And with Joey being gone, I see him filling Tooley's role. Okay, Thule's going to now, third season, he's going to step up. He's going to be full-time edge across from Khalil. And so we still have Bud Dupree under contract. And then we've got Kyle Kennard, who they're going to be bringing up as well. I can see him feeling Thule's role. If you remember, because Joey was always injured, Thule got a lot of reps as a rookie. And I see this guy coming in. He's not going to get the kind of reps that Thule got as a rookie, I don't suspect, because Thule doesn't get injured and Khalil doesn't get injured. But I do see them working him into the rotation. And a lot of good things I'm hearing about him as well. So far, Joe's doing a phenomenal job in this draft through round 4. And then we get to round 5, and he gets Keandre Lambert Smith. You'll probably hear him being referred to as KLS, Keandre Lambert Smith, wide receiver out of Auburn. He's not huge, but he's also not small. 6'1", 190 pounds, very fast, ran a 4.37 in the 40, and the guy is an absolute dynamic playmaker. He is already putting up highlight reel catches in camp, and don't sleep on this guy. This guy is one of those guys I think that we might have stolen in the draft. And a couple years from now, we'll be looking back going, how the heck did this guy fall to the 5th round? Great hands, great speed, great agility. Really looking forward to seeing what he brings to the wide receiver room as well. And then also in the 5th round, we had another 5th round pick. We got Oronde Gadsden II. If that name doesn't ring a bell for you young folks, for us older folks, his dad, Oronde Gadsden, was wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins for a few seasons. I want to say maybe 5 or 6, maybe 7. Caught passes from Dan Marino. Very talented. You know, he wasn't one of the marks, the dupers, but he was a really good contributor. So this guy's got a little pedigree to him. He's 6'5", 245 pounds out of Syracuse, and he started as a wide receiver and then converted to tight end. So let me reiterate that. 6'5", 245, wide receiver skills, playing tight end. This guy has already flashed in camp. He's got the speed. He's got the route running. He's got the hands. Out of the entire draft, this guy could end up being the steal of the draft. They say he's a willing blocker, which is a positive, in that he'll probably get more reps his rookie season, as long as he continues to be a willing blocker in the tight end role. But coach has come out and said, hey, I got no problem playing a pure pass-catching tight end if they're excellent in that role and they enhance the offense. So I could see him playing in 2 tight end and 3 tight end sets where they can't just completely sell out against the run, because you got this guy with incredible receiving skills also on the field. So it's going to be interesting to see how Giro uses him. But again, another guy I'm excited to see throughout preseason and training camp. We've desperately needed a true pass-catching tight end since, the GOAT's gone, Antonio. And while Will Dissly did a phenomenal job last year, right, we all know his primary role is a blocking tight end, and he's probably one of the best 2 or 3 in the league at it. He actually had a career-high pass reception and yards last season. So he really stepped up and contributed, but we really need that true pass-catching tight end. So Oronde Gadsden, the second 5th round pick. Keep an eye on this guy. Round 6, Branson Taylor, offensive lineman out of Pitt. 6'6", 315 pounds, big boy. Drafted him, I think, offensive line depth. He's a project. They see something there. Is he going to contribute this season? Maybe. Let's hope he doesn't. All right. If he's contributing, then somebody went down somewhere. Okay. Right now, we've got an offensive line that is made up of folks who are, with one exception, I think all first-round picks. And then the role players behind them, they all have a lot of reps behind them. So if you want to just kind of go over the offensive line real quick, left to right, we have our boy Rashawn that just got signed, first-round pick, just got extended. Zion Johnson currently is still penciled in at left guard, even though he's swapping out with Bradley Bozeman with center. We'll see how that pans out. That's an interesting dynamic there. But he's a former first-round pick. Bradley Bozeman at center. Mekhi Becton, former first-round pick at right guard. And then Joe Alt at right tackle. So if those guys play every rep this season, it's not going to happen. But if they did, we're going to have an incredible season, because everything starts, just like Coach says, tip of the spear. Everything starts with those 5 guys. So let's hope we don't have a 6th-round journeyman offensive lineman getting reps when you've got that caliber of offensive line in front of him. And behind him, behind them, we've got Jamari Salyer, Trey Pipkins, which he's got a lot of reps under his belt. I don't think he's starter material, but he's definitely swing tackle, backup material, for sure. All right, moving on. Our second 6th-round pick is R.J. Mickens. For you, again, older folks, that last name Mickens may ring a bell. His father played in the NFL. I believe his father was a DB as well. R.J. is a safety out of Clemson, 6 foot, almost 200 pounds, 199 pounds. I suspect he'll be, if he's going to make the roster, he's going to make the roster on special teams, and then he'll be a depth piece in the secondary, and a guy that they hope, grows into a starter a few years down the line. So special teams now, and be a contributor, learn the defense, and grow into potentially a starting role. Last but not least, round 7. I'm going to totally butcher this young man's name, Triquies Bridges. That's an awesome name, Triquies Bridges. He's defensive back out of Florida, 6'2", 195 pounds. This kid was crazy productive in college. Crazy productive. So again, this is kind of fits Joe Ortiz's mold of, I don't care what round you're going to get him in. He wants productive players from quality programs. And you go down the list here, right? We're talking North Carolina, Mississippi, Oregon, South Carolina, Auburn, Syracuse, Clemson, Pitt, Florida. Quality programs, and all these young men were very productive in those programs. All the way down to this 7th-round DB, Triquies Bridges. And he can play all over the secondary, DB, cornerback, and safety. So keep an eye on this kid. He's going to make his hay on special teams for at least this season or a couple. But again, he's another one of those guys who, don't be shocked if they can't keep him off the field after a couple years of getting acclimated in this defense. So there you have it. That's our 2025 draft class. Very impressive, start to finish. But boy, quite frankly, I would say through the 5th round. So that would be 6 total picks, because we had 2 5th-rounders. On paper, it looks like Joe hit it out of the park. Now, we all know you can't judge a draft class for the next 2 or 3 years, but it's looking good right now. All of these seem to be high-character guys and very productive guys. And it looks like they fit what we're trying to do on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. So pretty cool. It's a good draft. Looking forward to watching these guys evolve as Chargers. Let's talk a little bit about some folks who are still out there in free agency who haven't been signed, who, you can just from afar keep our eyes peeled as we get through camp. God forbid an injury comes up and we need to fill a position because somebody's going to be out for the season, or, as we're preparing to get ready for the regular season, competitors welcome. Joe signed, Elijah Molden just before the season started. He traded for him. So you never count anybody out with this front office. So just a couple names to remind you guys that are still out there. Amari Cooper, wide receiver, he's still available as a free agent. Our boy Keenan Allen, he's still available as a free agent. The position Keenan plays, I don't know if it's as valuable. We really need that outside 50-50 ball, deep threat guy. Keenan's the possession guy. He's the guy Justin can count on third downs. He can get open, incredible route runner, but he's more intermediate. Even on the outside, he's still more intermediate. So I don't necessarily know if he's the right fit for this offense at this point in time, but we know if they did bring him in, Justin and he are going to have incredible chemistry. And as a Charger who bleeds powder blue and navy blue now again, thank goodness, we can talk about that in an episode or two coming up. But my heartstrings would love to see Keenan back on the field. So I think his number 13, I think somebody's got it though. So you'd have to buy it back. Zadarius Smith, defensive end. Jadeveon Clowney, defensive end. So couple kind of like we did last season. Late in preseason, we signed Bud Dupree. And with Joey now being gone, I could see us potentially signing a veteran like Bud, defensive end, to get in on that rotation. And neither of those guys at this point in their careers would command top dollar. We still have cap room. So, yeah, I could see Zadarius Smith or Jadeveon Clowney donning some lightning bolts and getting in on that rotation to make sure that we keep the Khalils and the Toolies, keep them fresh throughout the season as we head into postseason. So I could see Joe pulling something like that off, and I think it'd be wise to do it. Position battles to keep an eye on during training camp and these preseason games. I already mentioned the center position. Bradley Bozeman and Zion Johnson have been swapping back and forth between left guard and center. One day one will play one and one will play the other. And not sure how that's going to shake out. My hunch is that they'll probably stay in their respective spots. Zion will be left guard. Bradley will stay center. But getting Zion cross-trained is going to do nothing but help. It'll help him at left guard because now he's going to see things more as the point guard, as a center, even though he's not maybe playing that position. So he'll be more in tune to the defense and what to expect. And when Bradley's making the calls, he'll have a better understanding of why Bradley's making those calls. So I don't think it's going to do anything but help our offensive line to have those guys cross-trained. But I suspect unless Zion really takes to the position, they'll probably stay in their respective spots. But keep an eye on it. It's going to be very interesting. And then I'm hearing good things about James as well, Andre James. So, like I said, I suspect he'll make the roster, and he'll be kind of the backup or the second backup center. But he's going to give them flexibility by keeping him on the roster. Wide receiver, all right. Who's behind Ladd? Right? We know Ladd. Ladd is wide receiver one, period. Josh Palmer's gone. We still got Quentin. Okay. I suspect Quentin's wide receiver 2. I think he's continuing to make strides. He's not perfect. He still drops some balls, but it looks like he's starting to catch better with his hands. And he's using his speed and his physicality more so far, it looks like, in the preseason or in training camp. So I suspect at this point, anyway, Q's wide receiver 2. Hearing some good things about Darius Davis, Jalen Reagor, but these 2 rookie wide receivers, those are the guys I suspect are going to really push the wide receiver room. Trey Harris, I expect some pretty big things out of this kid. And then everything I'm seeing about KLS is they're going to have a hard time keeping this kid off the field. So this can be very, very interesting to watch. And then don't forget, we've got Jerry Rice's kid, Brendan Rice, also. He's in the mix. And Jalen Reagor's in the mix. And then Darius Davis, our punt and kick returner, I'm hearing he is really, really coming on as a wide receiver as well. So very, very interesting. Even though we don't have Mike in the room anymore, very, very interesting wide receiver battle. Who's going to take what slots behind Ladd? And by the way, hearing great things about Ladd coming in year 2. He's stronger, more muscle, which I talked about last season. He needed to put on some weight and some muscle. All of these NFL DBs were just tackling him and falling on him and pounding him into the ground. And he came out and said during the offseason he was not anywhere near 100%. He was getting beat up. And so he realized he needed to put on some weight, put on some muscle, and he needs to learn how to get tackled. He's not going to catch the ball and just go down to the ground, but he's going to be much more mindful about when he goes for the extra yards and when he does get tackled, how he falls. So he's coming on strong here as well. So it's good to see. Running back, like I talked about. Okay, I figured it was going to be RB1, Najee Harris, RB2, Omarion. I think that's flip-flopped at this point. But again, we're going to want to keep an eye on how that shakes out, especially, with Najee's eye injury. Okay, we just signed a journeyman, and I don't have his name here. He's been out of the league a couple of years, played with the Colts. Good, solid running back. But, journeyman guy, we just signed him. Does he make the roster? Obviously, we've got Kamani Vidal, really looking for some big things out of him in year 2. So let's watch this running back room as well. Right now, I'd say hands down, Omarion's RB1. And then what happens behind that? More than likely, Najee's going to be just fine, and he'll be RB2. And then what's the pecking order behind that? Cornerbacks. We've got a big cornerback room. How's it going to shake out between Washington and Tarheeb and Cam Hart and the rest of these guys in the rotation? St. Just. So keep your eye on that. One of the main positions I really want to keep an eye on is our interior defensive line. Remember, our defense finished first in the league in scoring, holding opposing offenses scores down. We were number 1 scoring defense in the league last year. I suspect there's going to be a lot of pride in Jesse Mentor's folks to continue to bend but no break, if you will, and keep opposing offenses out of the end zone. And again, it all starts in the trenches and losing Puna. So keep an eye on the interior defensive line. It's going to be critical to keep the linebackers clean so that they can do what they need to do. And that leads me, last but not least, let's watch our linebackers. Okay, we know the Ranger, Deion Henley, they're probably not going to take him off the field. He's going to be an every down linebacker. But Junior Colson, he had some health issues last season. And so Denzel played a lot more than I think they thought he would play. And Denzel's still good. He's still got ball skills. He's still the thumper that he always was, which is awesome to see. Not to mention, from a morale and a leadership perspective, he brings so much to the middle of our defense. But it's going to be interesting to see who fills that role as the starter and who's the backup. I suspect it's going to be Junior, but something to watch. So there you have it. As far as what I'm thinking, as far as position battles go, you could throw out quarterback 2. Is it going to be Taylor? Is it going to be Trey? I suspect it's going to be Taylor, and they'll keep Trey. He's valuable for what they paid for him versus where he was drafted in his skill set. I think they're looking forward to kind of working with him and maybe seeing what he can blossom into, and probably groom him into some future trade capital because of his first round draft status and his skill set. So I suspect they'll keep him on the active roster. From my perspective, take it for what you're worth. I'm a Chargers fanboy, 40 plus years. But as I'm looking at the extensive nature of this roster remake for 2025, I think you'd be hard pressed to look at any position group on this team, any position group, and say it's not as good, if not better, than last season. Cornerback, safety, linebacker, interior defensive line, exterior edge, exterior defensive line. When Joey was healthy, Joey Bosa was great. Problem with Joey was staying healthy. Could you count on him to get a nick or a bruise and be out? That's the biggest thing with Joey. And so I would even make the argument that our edge group is better now than last season. I would make that argument. And then on the offense, look at the O-line. Mekhi Becton, you guys want to have some fun? Watch the right side of this offensive line every offensive snap. It's going to be awesome. You want to talk about smash mouth, downhill football? Really, really looking forward to watching Joe Alt and Mekhi Becton just beat the living daylights out of defenses. And Max Crosby, your days of Storm Norton and Trey Pipkin turnstiles are over. These boys are going to pound you. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. All right. Obviously, Justin's Justin. You can't argue that our running back room with Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton are better. Tight ends, clearly better. We still got Will Dissly, Tucker Fisk. But Tyler Conklin, watch out for that dude. He's going to be a major contributor. And Aronde Gadsden as well. Watch out for that kid. So literally, you just go down the list. I think every position group, they've upgraded this roster. And they've upgraded the roster in a Jim Harbaugh image. So that's a good thing. A few things to wrap up this pod with. As we started the pod, I told you we're sitting here recording. Our first preseason game is this Thursday. I'm recording this Monday night. It's this Thursday, the Hall of Fame game against the Detroit Lions. Number one, I believe it's 5 p.m. Pacific time that game will be on. I believe it's on ESPN and NFL Network. They're probably streaming it on one of those stupid streaming services like Peacock or something too. So you don't want to miss that. I highly doubt there will be any starters playing, not the Khalil Macks or the Justin Herberts or the Lad McConkeys. Probably, maybe not even O'Marion Hampton. Okay. Even though it'd be great to see him get some reps. But don't count on seeing any starters play, especially high-paid starters. Like Rashawn just got a big bag. Rashawn's not going to play. Joel's probably not going to play. Mekhi Becton's probably not going to play. But still worth watching for a couple reasons. Number one, first game of the season. It's our boys, and we want to watch these new additions to the roster and see how they play and how they fit in this scheme as a jumping off point into the rest of the preseason and heading into the season. Little tidbit. I saw this on social media, but you can't always believe everything you see on social media. And so I went out and verified this. The last time the Chargers played in the Hall of Fame game was in the 1994 season against the Atlanta Falcons. I didn't bother to look, see who won or lost it. It's a preseason game. Who cares? First game of the season. But the Chargers played in the 1994 Hall of Fame game. It's the last time they were in it. What happened at the end of the 1994 season? Just saying. That was Super Bowl 29. Chargers made it to their only Super Bowl that season. Second season under Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz. Take that for what it's worth. Okay, I'm not predicting we're going to the Super Bowl, but Jim Harbaugh and staff are more than capable of taking this roster to a Super Bowl. More than capable. So maybe there's a little karma there. And then how can we not kind of wrap this thing up talking about Antonio getting into the Hall of Fame? Absolute crime that he was not a first ballot Hall of Famer last season. Absolute crime. But that's the East Coast, West Coast, that's the bias. No Super Bowls, West Coast team, whole career with the Chargers. If he had pulled an LT and ended up going to an East Coast team for a couple seasons, maybe he makes it, first ballot, but he's in second ballot. Gatesy's the GOAT. Very few tight ends have done anything that he's ever done, going back to the Kellen Winslows, and those guys. So big congrats to Gatesy. We miss seeing him out on the field working his magic and seeing Phillip do what Phillip does. By the way, Phillip came out this past week and announced he's officially retiring from the NFL and signing a one-day contract to retire a Charger, which is awesome. Let's see, what else? This season, Rodney Harrison will be inducted into the Chargers Hall of Fame / Ring of Honor. And if I'm not mistaken, that game we will be wearing our new throwback navies, which are awesome. Throwback to those 90s navies. Really, really looking forward to seeing those uniforms. I think they're going to wear them twice this season. And speaking of uniforms, the all sunshine gold, at first when I saw that thing, just about puked after my retinas, put my sunglasses on and my retinas adjusted, but they're starting to grow on me a little bit. I'll just leave it there. Starting to grow on me a little bit. All right. I think under the right circumstances, those could end up being some serious badass uniforms. So a lot of people are trying to make the push that they wear those for the first game of the season, which, by the way, another unique thing this season is the official regulation kicks off Thursday Night Football. And I want to say who is it? I don't even remember who the game. It's not. It can't be the Chiefs and the Eagles because of the second game is the Chiefs and the Chargers. So Thursday night football kicks off the season, and then really, really odd is the following night, Friday night, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's like September 7th or 8th. The Chargers play the Chiefs. It's a Chargers home game, which sucks. We lose a home game down in Brazil. Okay, so we're playing the second game of the season on a Friday night, first week of the season, second game of the season in Brazil, Chargers home game on a Friday night. When was the last time? I don't think that's ever happened. Friday night game, international. So there's kind of been a push amongst a lot of folks that, well, the Chargers should wear those gold uniforms, all gold in Brazil, since that kind of is representative of Brazil's sporting team colors, which are almost all gold with like green trim. So you have that as well. So just some really interesting dynamics taking place this season to watch out for. A Hall of Fame game, second game of the season on a Friday night, international game, new alternate unis, really cool ones going back to the 1990s, which happened to also be the same uniforms we wore when we made it to Super Bowl 29, Hall of Fame game, 1994, Super Bowl 29. So all kinds of things going on here to, as Chargers fans, just be mindful of and appreciate and enjoy as we watch this season unfold. But new roster, new season, second year under Coach Harbaugh, second year under Joe Ortiz, second year under Jesse Minter, and a lot to look forward to as Bolt fans. So, Bolt up. We've got the Hall of Fame game to watch this week. Football's officially back. We've got the rest of training camp, and then we've got 3 more preseason games after that before the regular season kicks off at the beginning of September. So, enjoy. We will be back soon to talk about how the Hall of Fame game looked, preseason games coming up, how training camps continue to evolve and look, Najee Harris's eye, other roster-related items. And so be sure to tune in next pod as well. Should be coming up here in the next week or two. And with that, I will leave you guys with who's got it better than us? Nobody. Bolt up, Bolt fans. Catch you next time on ChargersCast. Hi, I'm Kirk Brewer, the creator and host of ChargersCast. I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of ChargersCast. We really appreciate you engaging with the podcast. When I created ChargersCast, it was intended to be a podcast about everything Los Angeles Chargers from a fan perspective. It's by fans and for fans. So it's for you, and we really appreciate you being here. If you haven't done so already, please go down below, leave a comment, give us some feedback. We really love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and click the little bell so that you get notifications when new content drops. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to ChargersCast. And who's got it better than us? Nobody.